Hello, welcome to English for Everyone, where we practice real-life American English. Today we're going to learn great phrasal verbs, so let's get started. Pass on. Pass on is a phrasal verb, but we use it in two different ways. In one way, it's separable, and in another way, it's not separable, and they mean two different things. Let's take a closer look. If I separate the phrasal verb pass on, then it means to continue something. Example, you can pass on traditions to your family. You can pass them on. You can pass the traditions on to your family. So we separate the phrasal verb pass on and we can put the object in the middle. You can pass them on, or if it's one, you can pass it on. From one person to another person. It's like you're giving it to them. You pass it on. Example, the family has a tradition and they pass their traditions on to their children. They pass them on to their children. Let's practice. Does the family pass the traditions on to their children? That's right. The family passes the traditions on to their children. Does the family pass them on to their children? That's right. The family passes them on to their children. Or maybe somebody has a skill and they pass it on to their apprentice. They're teaching their apprentice this special skill, so they pass it on to their apprentice. They pass the skill on to their apprentice. Let's practice. Is he passing the skill on to his apprentice? That's right. He's passing the skill on to his apprentice. Is he passing it on to his apprentice? That's right, he's passing it on to his apprentice. Now let's talk about the phrasal verb pass on that is not separable. Example, I'm going to pass on that. That means I'm going to reject it. I'm not going to accept it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to pass on it. Example, an offer. He received an offer, but he said no. So I can say he passed on it. Do not separate this phrasal verb. Put the object at the end. Always. He passed on the offer or he passed on it. He didn't accept it. He said no to it. He passed on it. Let's practice. He received an offer. Did he accept it or did he pass on it? That's right. He passed on it. Let's practice. He received an offer. Did he pass on the offer or did he accept it? That's right. He passed on the offer. He said no. So remember, the phrasal verb pass on can be used two different ways. If it's separated, you know that it means to continue something, to carry on something, to give it to the other person. That's pass it on. But if it's not separated, pass on something, that means you say no. You reject it. Today we're talking about this word, tie. And this is a tie. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the verb tie. And yes, you can say tie a tie. I can tie a tie. Can you tie a tie? Very good. First, let's talk about your shoes. You tie your shoes, or you can say you tie your shoelaces. They're both correct. You don't have to say laces. You can say tie your shoe or tie your shoelaces. And what about this? This is a knot, and you tie a knot. Remember, the K is silent. Tie a knot. But usually you have to do the opposite. You have to untie a knot. And sometimes it can be difficult to untie a knot. Let's practice. Can it be difficult to untie a knot? That's right. Sometimes it can be difficult to untie a knot. Now let's talk about the phrasal verb tie up. Tie up in the present, in the past, tied up. I can use it as an adjective and say, he's tied up. And this is the idea. Completely tied with rope or something like that. He's tied up. Let's practice. Is he tied up? That's right, he's tied up. Or I can use tied up for a different situation. For example, he's at work and he has a lot of work to do and he can't leave. He's stuck at work. So I can say, he's tied up at work. I use the preposition at. He's tied up at work. That means he can't leave. He has a lot of work to do. Let's practice. Is he tied up at work? That's right, he's tied up at work.
Jen's tied up at work, so I'm supposed to do something nice for your birthday. So here I am.
I was tied up at work. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I just got a bit tied up at work, you know?
Yeah, just a little tied up at work.
Now let's talk about this phrasal verb, tie down. It means to secure something by tying it to the ground or to the bottom surface, whatever that is. Example, the car is tied down. It's tied down to the trailer. I can't say the car is tied up. No, the car is tied down. Let's practice. Is the car going to move around or is the car tied down? That's right, the car is not going to move because it's tied down. And I can use tied down in a different situation. For example, she has a lot of debt. She has a lot of debt and she can't spend any money. She doesn't have any money. She owes a lot of money. So I can say she's tied down in debt. Let's practice. Is she tied down in debt? That's right, she's tied down in debt. So remember the verbs, tie and the opposite, untie. And the phrasal verbs, tie up or tied up, and tie down or tied down. Today we're learning these two phrasal verbs, cut back on and cut down on. They both mean to reduce the amount of something. For example, if I talk about a person, he smokes too much. He needs to cut down on smoking. Use a gerund. Or I can say he needs to cut down on cigarettes. I can use a noun too. And I can use either phrasal verb. He needs to cut back on smoking or he needs to cut down on smoking. They both mean the same thing, to reduce the amount. Let's hear some examples of both phrasal verbs, cut down on and cut back on, talking about a person reducing the amount of something they're doing.
Cut back on any alcoholic drinks, tobacco, caffeine.
You gotta cut down on your raw meat.
I gotta cut down on the coffee.
You cut down on greasy foods and chocolate.
Stood up and told them I thought they ought to cut back on their advertising.
What happened to the new whirlpool we were supposed to get?
Revenue problems have forced us to cut back on equipment.
So, we had to cut back on quests. Doctor's orders.
Let's practice. Does he need to cut down on smoking? That's right, he needs to cut down on smoking. Or cut back. Does he need to cut back on smoking? That's right, he needs to cut back on smoking. He needs to do it less. So how are they different? Well, cut down on can refer to an object, not only a person. Cut back on only refers to a person reducing the amount of something they're doing. To do it less. A person doing something less. That's cut back on. But cut down on can be a person or a thing. Let's hear an example.
And the new cartridges cut down on jamming.
He said the new cartridges cut down on jamming. He's talking about cartridges, not a person. The cartridges in the guns make jamming happen less frequently. Jamming is when the gun gets stuck. So the new cartridges prevent the guns from getting stuck. The new cartridges prevent the guns from jamming. So I can use cut down on. The new cartridges cut down on jamming.
And the new cartridges cut down on jamming.
They make it happen less. They reduce the amount. They reduce the frequency of it happening. Let's practice. Do the new cartridges cut down on jamming? That's right, the new cartridges cut down on jamming. So cut down on can talk about people or things. And cut back on is only for people, not for things. Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to become a member, click the join button. And we'll see you next time.